Alrighty, folks. Good morning to everybody. It's a very good morning here in Seattle, Washington. And we finished our very long trek across Switzerland, the Via Alpina one, also known as Swiss Alpine Pass Route, about a couple of weeks ago. So my jet lag is kind of decreasing and I'm settling into the normal rhythm of life. And I have had some time to upload my photos and videos and reflect on this awesome, spectacular hike. So I thought today I would record a video talking about some of the frequently asked questions. As I posted my video and I posted on Facebook, lots of people had lots of questions, and I know that when I was planning for this hike myself, I had many questions too. So I have compiled for you here a list of questions that I hope I'll be able to answer some of the questions that some folks have on their mind about this trek. So let's get started. All right. First question that I have written down for you. How did I learn about Via Alpina 1? So my husband and I have gotten into this long distance hiking thing for some time now. Our very first one was in, I believe that was in New Zealand, the Kepler Trek. And that was a few years ago and we loved it. And then since then we've been looking at long distance trails around the world. Switzerland just happens to be a walker's paradise. There are so many trails, the network is just amazing. When you go to Switzerland, you see all these yellow signs connecting one village to another. There's a story that we heard about it. One of the locals told us that apparently Switzerland became such a walker's paradise thanks to some English people in the past that had traveled to Switzerland that wanted to create this network. We don't know if it is true or not. We honestly don't want to give credit where it's not due. I'm not sure. So we're gonna, leave it at that. But the walking network in Switzerland is just amazing. So we've been to Switzerland a few times now. This was our third time. Actually, the last trek that we did in Switzerland was the Haute Route. So this year, as the pandemic was on its way out, hopefully, we were looking at where to go, where are the long distance trails that we might enjoy doing after 2 years of, not quite a lot of travel, honestly, even though last year we did go to Iceland for the Lighterpack trek. This came up, Via Alpina. It seemed doable, less than a month, so we decided to do it. All right, on to the next question. How much did we train? So I am a runner in my regular life, and I run about 4 or 5-ish miles, 3 to 4 days a week. So I did that as usual, but we also did a lot of walking. We have some amazing mountains here in Pacific Northwest, amazing national parks, the Olympic National Park, Mount Rainier National Park. So we just had access to a lot of hiking trails, and it's a privilege to live in a place like this. So we decided to do a lot of walking. We have a trail system here close to our house as well, but we ended up walking almost every week, 2 or 3 days a week, on top of the other training that I did with my running. I also added some strength training. So I would say, try to walk a lot, try to have some aerobic activity 3 or 4 times a week, try to get some elevation, gain some uphills and downhills in your system. And also do some strength training, lunges, squats, step ups, those kinds of things really help with uphill and downhill walking. So we trained for about 6 months. I believe we started training beginning of the year when we decided to do this trek. But we trained quite a lot. To be honest, I am not sure if all the training was helpful or not, because at the end of the day, when you're in Switzerland and when you're walking up these alpine mountains, it's just strenuous. It's arduous, and you really have to allow yourself to be uncomfortable and get better and fitter to walk those trails through your journey. But definitely, if you have a little bit of time for preparation and training, it does help. It does help you feel more comfortable starting in the beginning of the hike itself. So I would say do it. All right, next one. How much did it cost? So it really depends what you do. I know a lot of people that do wild camping, that do just stay in tents and so on. And I'm sure it costs a whole lot less. Switzerland does happen to be a very expensive country. I mean, it is a beautiful country. It just is amazing in terms of access and services and so on. It's an easy country, I believe, to travel in as well, but it is expensive. So we chose to stay in a combination of hostels, hotels, dorms, mountain huts. So everywhere it was slightly different. You know, it went all the way from for a single person, about 50 Swiss francs a night to stay for accommodation, to, you know, if you're choosing to stay in a hotel, 100 plus Swiss francs a night. But a lot of these hotels do include breakfast. Some of them include half board as well. And we generously made use of the food that we were offered as part of our stay. So we would eat a lot in the beginning of the day. That really helped fuel our walks for the entire day. But it also cut down on expenses because it wasn't until really 3 o'clock in the afternoon I started feeling hungry, and then I had my snacks, my almonds, my walnuts, those kinds of snacks, and my chocolates and a little bit of bread that we picked up in a supermarket. So we spent very little on food, but it is expensive. The hotels are expensive. So keep that in mind. If you can carry a tent on your back, it does help with flexibility. It will be a little uncomfortable because who knows where you're gonna be able to find a shower. And you know, at the end of the day, I really did appreciate a warm shower and a soft bed, but it really depends on you how much you want to spend on this. How long did we take? We took about 25 days. We had a rest day in Mürren, so that Mürren day was actually, we had split it in half. According to our book, we would go all the way from Lauterbrunnen to, I believe, Griesalp. I have to look at my itinerary. But we had split that, I think Grindelwald. We had split that day in half, so we decided to stay in Mürren, not just one day, but the next day as well. So that really helped because by that time, our legs and our feet and our body in general was just getting exhausted. So having that rest day in there really helped. We also split a couple of other days. We stayed at Blumisalp Hütte, which is just an amazing hut. And, you know, I would say do stay there because in the morning, you know, by 8:30, everybody leaves and you have this beautiful, amazing scenery, glaciers, and, you know, really tall mountains and mountain ranges as far as I could see, all to yourself. So I would say if you can stay at the Blumisalp Hütte, please do stay there. I think we ended up having a couple of you know, breaks like that and then a rest day. So it was more than generally what people take to complete the Via Alpina 1 across Switzerland. But for us, it was 25 days. And I saw a lot of people that were doing it in sections. So you really don't have to do the whole thing at once. In fact, most people that were doing it as section hikes. So you could choose to do, for example, the Griesalp to Kandersteg or Lauterbrunnen to Kandersteg section, which I believe is the most spectacular section of the whole hike. So you can decide to do it in sections, and if you don't have a lot of time. I just happen to work for a company where I have the luxury of a long vacation, so I was able to take that. In fact, that I would say I like doing it that way because it's very good to kind of disconnect and be in this mode of just being in the mountains and taking it all in for a little bit of an extended period of time. So doing this for an entire month, I would say really did help. All right, can I do it if I have fear of heights? So this came up in one of the questions that I got online, and I did walk the section between Griesalp to Hochtorli with a gentleman, a very nice gentleman, who did tell us that he has a bit of fear of heights. And I could tell he was getting uncomfortable in some sections where there was a little more than slight exposure. The climb up to Hochtorli specifically. I do think that Zerfen and Furka is another place where if you have fear of heights, you might be a little challenged. There are other places like Rocher Denay where you have to walk along an exposed ridge. I think you may want to be careful. So I think there are sections where if you are afraid of heights or exposures, You might feel a little uncomfortable, but I would say it's not unmanageable. I think you can choose to do sections that don't have that exposure. You can, because Switzerland is so well connected and so well served by public transport, you can choose to bypass some of these sections if you're really, really terrified. But I would say do it and try to see how you can work around some of the challenges that you have personally. How did I plan this hike, and do you need a guide company, a tour company to plan this hike for you? We met a few American women who had actually used a company to plan the hike. In fact, a number of Americans had used various companies to plan the hike for them. I think it does help in really relaxing and reducing the workload for you to find the hotels, email them, make sure that if you have to change plans, you have to contact these hotels by yourself, make all the changes yourself. So I think if you have the help of someone, and if you can afford the help of someone to plan this whole thing for you, it does help. We did not do that. I have to confess, I enjoy a little bit of planning. It's not just the trek itself, the journey itself that I enjoy, but it's also the anticipation, learning about it and planning. So I did a lot of the planning myself. I emailed hotels. Every hotel, probably they use Google Translate where there is the language barrier. But every hotel I emailed was able to get back to me on time. They all had email addresses. They were all able to communicate well with me. And pretty much when I went there, the reservation was there, the room was there waiting for me. I didn't have any glitches in that. So I think you can plan it on your own like I did. It does take a bit of work. How much gear did we take? We were obsessive about weight. In fact, I have a weight scale here at home, and we were weighing every single piece of gear that we took. My husband, in fact, broke his toothbrush in half. I weighed all my clothing, my underwear, my buff, my sunglasses, everything. In fact, I compared and contrasted which ones I should take. I was very specific because I had a bit of a shoulder issue going into the hike, so I didn't want to put too much weight on my back and not being able to complete the hike. So I was very specific about the weight that was on me. I believe, I had a very lightweight backpack. I chose a lot of lightweight gear, but I ended up, I think, around 10 to 15 kilograms on my back, less than 20 pounds. So that was my, what I took. I did take my camera, probably one of the heaviest pieces of gear on myself. My camera with my lens weighed about 2 pounds. My husband carried my tripod. Thank you, husband. My husband carried my tripod for me, but he also tried to take everything lightweight. So I would say if you can, think about it. If you're comfortable with the weight on your back, you're going to be comfortable throughout the journey. So it is an important aspect of how you're going to enjoy this hike, so pay attention to that. All right, so I had a bit of a camera issue, but I'm back. So let's take the next question. What was the weather like? So I pretty much saw, I would say, all the 4 seasons while I was there in Switzerland. September was supposed to be the best month to do this hike, according to our guidebook. In August, apparently you face a lot of thunderstorms. In July, you still have a little bit of snow. So we were told that September was the perfect month. But if you're going there assuming that you're just going to be in this amazing 75-degree Fahrenheit sort of weather, you're going to be unfortunately disappointed, because I believe that if you're spending 25 days in a mountainous area like you would see in the Via Alpina one, you would be seeing a lot of different kinds of weather like we did. We had blistering heat, glorious, absolutely beautiful sunshine, blue skies, but we also had driving rain and blinding fog and winds. Oh my God, we had lots of wind, lots of very heavy, stiff winds. We had snow, a little bit of dusting of snow, not too much, but we had some snow, we had some sleet. So we had, all kinds of elements that we face. So I would say go prepared. We had really good rain equipment, which was just great. Even though we were really conscious about weight, we did not skimp on our equipment. We had good rain equipment. We had buff that we could use to cover our ears. So I think we were prepared, and we pretty much used a lot of the gear that we took with us. But preparation is key, and there is, as they say, there is no bad weather, there is just bad equipment. All right, speaking of gear, what was my camera gear? So this time I took my Sony a7C camera. I love it. I've been using it for a few trips now. It's just amazing, lightweight. It really has the ability to capture very good pictures. I had my slick carbon fiber tripod. This time I took a prime lens, which I really worried about quite a bit because, with a zoom lens that I had before, I had a Tamron 28-75 lens before. I had the flexibility of shooting, zoomed in and zoomed out, but I did like the quality of a prime lens. This time I took a Sony 20mm G lens, and that, the quality, the clarity that I got from this lens was just amazing. I love this glass. The wide angle was very helpful. One of the bucket list items that I got that I was able to check off this time, even though I will continue doing this and enjoying this, is taking pictures and time lapses of Milky Way. And I ended up having a really beautiful night where I was able to do that in Bergasthaus Tanalp. Just no light pollution, lots of stars visible, the clouds were just moving in, the time lapses turned out to be amazing. I could see the Milky Way, and I think that the fact that I took my 20mm lens really helped in capturing the breadth and the magnitude of the sky. And I think in general for landscapes in Switzerland, I think a wide angle lens is a perfect choice. So I don't regret taking it. Maybe I would have liked a little bit more, zoom lens as well, but I'm happy with this. All right, so that's all the questions I wrote down. So if you have any more questions, please send them to me, put them in the comments section below. I'm also gonna publish in the description the lighter pack, the list that I took with me on my backpack, so you will see that. I will also put all the links to my All Trails, the maps that I downloaded for this trek and I used on the trail as well. All Trails was absolutely a blessing for us because not just All Trails, the fact that I did a little bit of preparation to download these GPX tracks and I was able to use them offline while navigating. It was an absolute blessing for us because it seemed like a lot of times we lost the trail, and to be able to be notified very quickly that we are on the wrong path helped us avoid a lot of extra miles and extra elevation gain and elevation loss. So I really think that it's an important thing to have a GPX track and some navigation help on this trail. But I'll put the description in the description box. I'll put all the links to our maps that we used and the lighter pack as well. All right, hope this was useful to everybody. Please do contact me if you have any more questions. Bye.